Hello students, welcome back to First PUC Accountancy class. In the last class, we all have discussed syllabus content of your subject. Let us begin first chapter today, that is Introduction to Accounting. So there are 13 lessons in accountancy, 2 parts. First part contains 8 lessons and second part consists of 5 chapters. So in first part, the first chapter is called Introduction to Accounting. As we all discussed in the last session, that accounting work is prepared to know the result of every business organization, whether we earn profit or we got loss. To know that is nothing but result, finding out the result of the business concern, and also same time we have to know here judge the financial position of the business. For those reasons, normally accounting work is prepared by all the organization. It may be sole proprietorship or partnership business or any form of business organization. Say for example, multinational company, all the business organization, they furnish accounting work properly, and through that calculation of profit or loss as well as the preparation of final statements will be done in the business. So let us begin this class, this chapter with a basic term called bookkeeping. You might be knowing that the word bookkeeping or the term bookkeeping. So what do you mean by bookkeeping here? Bookkeeping is the process of maintaining the books of account for the purpose of recording day-to-day transactions called bookkeeping. Normally, bookkeeping is defined as it is the process of maintaining the books of account for the purpose of recording the transactions. So in every business organization, day by day, there are numerous transactions will be done, and in order to keep all those things for the purpose of calculating the profit or loss after the specified period of time, we need to record those in the books of account, and maintaining those books of account is called bookkeeping. The word only says keeping the books of account, right? Keeping the various books of account for the purpose of calculating something, for the purpose of recording something, for the purpose of here entering some transactions in the books of account, and which is used for the calculation of profit or loss as well as the judging of financial position. So this is called bookkeeping. And next is meaning of accounting. Accounting is defined as American Accounting Association called AAA. This is one of the association which is situated in established in America that gives us here one definition for the term accounting. So according to American Accounting Association, accounting means accounting is the process of identifying, measuring, communicating economic information to judge and take decision by the users called accounting. So which institution has given here meaning of accounting? American Accounting Association. They gives us here definition of accounting called it is the process. Process means if anything contains series of activities or set of activities, then called process. So accounting is also called set of activities, so called process. It is a process of what here? It is a process of many things, correct? So first one is identifying. So in order to maintain proper accounting works, the first word need to furnish called identifying. So what is identifying? Identifying means estimating or maybe determining the transactions which is going to be written in the books of account or considered for the calculation of profit or loss or judging the financial position called identifying. Correct. So there are many transactions will be done in the organization over a period of time or day by day, and some of them are called economic transactions. Some of them called here non-economic transactions. Economic transactions are called here the transaction which termed in monetary ways or monetary values, and non-economic called here common transactions which does not includes monetary values. So normally in accounting only economic transactions are taken into account. So that is why the person who is going to prepare accounting work, he must identify the transactions first, right? So before going to write the thing in the books of account, what I should write here, what I should not write here. So all the things, whether necessary or necessary to write or which is not necessary to write. So all those things here need to be estimated or need to be determined by the person. That is called identifying. And after identifying the transaction, before going to write here, we have to identify the transactions. And next one is measuring. Right. So I told you only economic transactions are written in the books of account, and economic transaction must be contain some monetary values, correct? And what is the value of the transaction? We have to give the values. We have to fix the values, and that is called measuring. For example, one transaction I will tell you. If a company purchased some amount of goods, for example, raw material. So raw material is compulsory for every business organization. They need to purchase some raw materials from the suppliers. It is called goods. Correct. So purchase of goods from supplier. This is called transaction, right? And we have identified the purchase of goods from supplier, one of the transaction, and for which value, for how much amount of money we purchase the goods here. Say for example, for 1000, for rupees of 1000, we purchased some amount of goods, correct? So after the transaction, after identifying the transaction, that 1000 amount of money what we have fixed, this is called measuring the transactions, correct? So if any transaction is able to fix the values or monetary values, then only it is recorded. So that is why after identifying the transaction, it should be measured. If we are able to fix some monetary values for the transactions, then only it is taken for the next process. So identification and measurement should be done. After measuring, one more is called communicating. Correct? Communicating means recording, entering those transactions in the books of account. At last, it has to be communicated to here different parties. So it is there here. Communicating economic information to judge and take decisions by the different users or by the users. There are many users, right? So as an accountant, I'm going to prepare the accounting or accounting activities here. This is not for the purpose of using myself, right? Not because of me I'm preparing here all those accounting works. It is because of various parties. They are called different users. Correct. So normally shareholders, they want to know, that accounting works of the company, your employees of the company, top management like board of directors, CEO, managing director, president, etc. They are the top management, topmost executives of the company. They must know that here what is the position of the company by seeing the accounting works. Then also many things. For example, government, they must know we have to pay taxes regularly to the government, and the government by seeing that documents only they can collect amount of tax from the business. Correct? Even the creditors, bankers, some other prospective institutions or prospective investors, some other financial institutions, or maybe so many people. Right? So many people they are required to know the position of the business as well as the result of the business, right? So communicating those economic informations. Economic information is nothing but what we have recorded. The transaction is nothing but economic informations, right? Economic informations of the business will be identified, measured, and communicated. At last, it is communicated to judge and take decisions. There are many parties. They need to judge something. They need to take decisions on the activities of the business, right? For the purpose of taking decisions and making of judgment and all those things are done called accounting process. So called accounting process is the accounting activities is the process of identifying, measuring, communicating economic informations of the business to judge and take decisions by the different users, right? So it involves many activities, and the definition or that meaning is given by American Accounting Association. This is the simple meaning actually of accounting process. If it is asked for 1 or 2 months, you can write the meaning of accounting. It is given by American Accounting Association. One more meaning or definition we have related to accounting only. It is almost same. Wherever you go, if you see the meaning of accounting, it is nothing but the process or series of many activities. Correct? So accounting is always set of many activities and need to be furnished under business activities. So we'll see one more meaning. It is the set of works, as I told, process. It is a series of activities or set of works involving what kind of series of activities, what kind of set of works are involved here. It involving identifying, again it comes, right? So many transactions will be done in the organization, correct? And we have to identify what is to be recorded, correct? So identifying, measuring, if there is the monetary values, if anything which is impossible or not able to fix the monetary values, and then they are not called accounting information, then they are not called economic information, correct? So once you identify, as soon as immediately you have to measure the transactions, right? What is the value of the transaction is nothing but measuring, and recording. That one more step is included in this meaning actually, which is not there in that accounting association, American Accounting Association meaning. So after measuring, once you give monetary values for the transaction, immediately it has to be recorded. Recording is nothing but entering those transactions in proper books of account, right? So at the beginning stage only, that accountant will open many books of account, right? So if you find the transaction, measure the transaction, and where it is recorded, in which books of account recorded, ultimately it has to be entered, right? So entering the transactions in proper books of account called recording, that we could say writing also, right? So recording, and not only recording, there are other processes called classifying. We have to make classification also, right? So as I told in the beginning, every organization they do many activities. Maybe in a day, n number of transactions will be done, right? Maybe 100 or 1000 transactions. And you just imagine after 365 days, after 12 months, how many transactions will be recorded? Can be recorded in the books of account, right? Is it possible to read, calculate everything at the end of every year? No, right? So for that purpose, it is to be classified. Classifying means, making classification or grouping of many activities, right? So classifying and summarizing. Summarizing is what actually summarization also giving, or if many transactions are recorded, and summary or the report of the transaction can be written in short list or short manner, right? So making many transactions into short form called summarizing. This is also important because if summarization, if it is not done, then very difficult to calculate the amount of profit. Next is analyzing. Analyzing is also important for the preparation of final statements or to calculate the profit or loss of the organization. Analysis as well as interpretation, they are actually done in the organization combinedly. Analysis and interpretations. Interpretation means giving the conclusions. What is the result, right? What is we are going to earn? Whether the profit, if it is profit, what is the amount of profit? Whether high profit or less profit, or what is the extent of profit we are going to earn? This can be known here by analyzing as well as the interpreting, and also communicating the result of business activities. Actually, we all have recorded, identified, measured, analyzed, summarized, everything is called business activities only. Ultimately, after the interpretations and analysis, it has to be communicated to the different users. As I told you here, different users, government or creditors or bankers, shareholders, prospective investors, they are the different users of the economic information. So if after finishing all those things, if it is communicated to all the parties and it is an end of accounting process. So I continued here communicating the result of business activities. Result means what is the end result you get, profit or loss, or what is the position of the organization. So if it is communicated to the different parties of the organization, now end of accounting activities. So it is a set of identifying, measuring, recording, classifying, summarizing, analyzing, interpreting, and communicating the various business activities. And it is done here to judge the financial position of the business as well as the result of the business organization. So this is the meaning as well as definition of accounting words. So now I'm moving into characteristics of accounting words. So there are the 7 features or characteristics. So we'll discuss one by one. Number 1 is identifying. Actually, in the meaning or definition of accounting, what the set of activities we discussed, same are called different characteristics of accounting. Okay, so all those things, I think you can see here all 7 points which is there in meaning as well as definition of accounting. So we'll discuss one by one. Number 1 is identifying. If you understand all 7 process or characteristics, then you can easily understand here what is accounting or what is accountancy. So number 1 is identifying. So what is identifying? As I told, before entering the transaction in the books of account, everything has to be identified first. Correct? So identification of many transactions which is done or which is going to be done day by day in the business organization called identifying. Correct? So determining the various business events, various economic events which is to be recorded or which is not to be recorded. Correct? So at the time of calculation of profit or at the time of judging the financial position of the business, which are the economic informations we require, we taken into account, those are only recorded, and as an accountant your duty is to first identifying those. Correct? So determining those is the identification or identifying the business events. Once that identification process is done, then immediately you have to see or you have to check the what is the monetary value or value of the transactions. Correct? So as I told there, if the transaction having monetary values, then only it is recorded. Right? Otherwise, will not be recorded because they are called non-economic transactions. Correct? So measuring is nothing but checking or fixing or giving the monetary values for all the transactions which we have categorized as economic or which we have categorized here to record the things in the books of account called measuring. Say for example, it may be 1 rupee or 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 5, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 1 crore. These will be the monetary values of the transactions. So after finding it and giving or fixing the values or monetary terms for the transaction called measuring. Once that measurement is done, and next one is immediately it has to be recorded. Right? There are many books of account will be opened at the beginning by the accountant. Correct? There are many books of account also prepared here, and particular transactions where it is to be recorded. Right? So we have to find the books of account and immediately entering those in the books of account called recording. So normally many books of accounts are maintained, say ledger, journal, various subsidiaries or trial balance or financial statements. Right? These are the major books of account, various books of accounts prepared by the accountant, and every transactions will be recorded either in one book of the or one of the books of account called recording. Next, once that recording is done, and the continuation part or the next process called the classifying. So classification is very important. Right? So in the initial stage, all the transactions are recorded in the books of account randomly, or generally it is recorded. Right? Once the process, like some of the process, if it is done, then we have to go for the next process, that is making of classification. Classification is nothing but grouping of some other activities according to or on the basis of the similar nature of activity called classifying. What is the classification? Classification means making group of similar nature of activities or economic events called classification. It helps to easily understand that various transactions in the last stage, means at the time of calculating the profit or judging the financial positions, if we have a group of transactions, like according to the similar nature of work, if we have a group of transactions, then only we can go, summarizations as well as the analysis and interpretations, right? So for the purpose of making summarization, analysis as well as interpretations, grouping of similar nature of activities is also important. One, that classification or grouping of some of the activities according to the similar nature is done. Next is summarizing. Summarizing is that if there are n number of transactions and it is not possible to take all those things at last day, while at the time of finding the profit or loss. So for that reasons, making summary, making short form of the various activities which we have recorded in the initial stage called summarizing. Once that summarization or summarizing process done, then immediately analysis and interpretation. Right? Analysis and interpretations means making some preliminary judgment. Right? So as an accountant, my duty is to giving some conclusions about what are the things I have recorded and what would be the result after few days, whether we are near to earn the profit or we are going for the loss, or maybe what is the financial position of the business, whether it is good or with a bad or positive or negative, we are in strength position or not. So all those things can be here done in the process of analysis as well as the interpretation. Students, analysis and interpretation is nothing but making of some conclusions about the things recorded in the previous process called analysis and interpretation. At last, usually in summarizing process only, you will get the result and it can be concluded or it can be finalized here in the process of analysis and interpretations. Once that final report is ready, then it has to be communicated to the different users. Say I told you investors means shareholders. Shareholders also called owners of the organization, then creditors, bankers, then government or court. So they are the many parties. They are also called users of the accounting activities. And if it is communicated to all the parties in proper manner, then the end of accounting process. So accounting consists of these 7 characteristics. Okay, so if you understand this, I'm moving into the next concept, that is meaning of accountancy. We'll discuss what is meaning of accountancy. Okay, actually your subject is not accounting, right? Accounting is a set of activities, but we don't do all the things, right? Identification or recording or measuring or communicating. These things we don't do in our subject. Isn't it? Is it possible to identify the transactions? No. Like in your subject, what we are going to study called, they will give us some problems, right? And with basic rules and regulations, or by using the basic laws of accounting, we have to convert that problems into the solutions. Correct. So our duty is to solving the problems, right? So making judgment or giving the result for the problems or illustration is called our subject. So that is why our subject name is not accounting. Accounting consists of various activities, but we don't do all those things. So our subject is accountancy. Then what is called accountancy? Accountancy is the study of theory and practices. Accountancy is the study of theory and practices, or it is a combination of theory and practices. Theory and practices means, as I told, in accountancy, there are some rules and regulations, there are some concepts, there are some principles, etc. Right? We have to know that. Correct? We have to study first. Those are called theory, and practice is called by applying or by using those theories, getting the solutions or preparing the books of account called practices. Correct? So recording the transactions and making calculations or comparisons, conclusions, and calculate at the last stage calculating the profit, or it may be the losses, right? Giving the conclusions. These are all those things are called practices by using the accounting rules as well as the principles. So study of rules and converting those theories into a practice is called accounting, or I can say accountancy is the process of converting theories into practices. It is also called, converting, the process of converting the theories into practices. They'll give some theories, they'll give some transactions, and which will be converted into the end result called practices. So the process of converting the theories into practices also called accountancy. Actually, we are going to do same in our accountancy subject. This is called the meaning of accountancy. Now we have three basic terms which normally used in meaning as well as basic term of accountancy. Okay, even you may observe that in the meaning definition as well as in the characteristics of accounting have used many times some terms actually. Okay, we'll discuss that few terms which have used in the meaning as well as definition of accounting. The first one is organization. You might be knowing that actually. Even have explained many times in business studies also. Organization. Correct. So we do all the accounting process: identification, measuring, recording, classification, summarization, interpretations, communications, everything of which institution actually. So the organizational activities, correct? So organization is an entity or institution which operates business or non-business activities with the intention of earning profit or not for profit called organization. Correct? Say example, banking institutions, insurance institutions, schools, colleges, hospitals, trading industries, multinational company, sole proprietorship. They all are called, organization. Remember, students, organization is an entity. They do some operations. It may be business or non-business, trading or non-trading. Right? Their activities may be anything. Correct? And also they have an intention of motive of earning profit or not to earn a profit. It may be providing services to the society also. They all are called, group of every institutions are called here organization, and all the institutions they have to prepare accounting process. Right? So accounting process is done by the organization only. So this is the first basic term I have used in the meaning as well as definition of accounting. I hope you understand. And second one is economic information. Economic information or economic events. Even many times I have used this word also, economic information or economic events. Economic means the transactions or activity which consists of transfer of money, right, which consists of monetary values, and information means transaction, event means also transactions, right. So in accounting process we are taken into account, we considered only economic information, correct. For example, if some that unnecessary disputes among the, if disputes happens between the manager as well as subordinates, or any unwanted discussions made between the manager as well as the personnel of the organization or employees of the organization, these all are never be recorded, or these are never be taken as or considered as accounting information, right. Accounting information or economic information means the only things which is taken for the calculation of profit, right. The information must be decides here the profit or financial position of the business, then only it is considered. And which are the things considered is nothing but economic information. Only economic informations will be taken as accounting information. And number 3 called different users. Different users. Right? So we made all accounting process. This is not only just calculating, accounting is not at all just calculating the profit or losses. Right? For the purpose of calculating profit or loss, we do accounting process, right? And all accounting process will be prepared or done here for the purpose of submitting or disclosing those to the different users, right? So for example, government for tax purpose, bankers or creditors, because we have taken money from bankers or creditors and we are responsible to submit our result to the bankers or creditors. Even shareholders, they are the owners or investors or prospective investors or media. So they all are called here. Government means tax department also. They all are the different users of our accounting information. Even act or law also says, like according to the rules and regulations, we need to prepare everything and it has to be disclosed on time to different users. So these are the 3 different terms I have used in accounting meaning. Okay, so I'm going to end today's session, and in the next class we'll see accounting is taken as source of information for the business. Thank you.